On this week's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by two people, Andrew Gibbison, the Operations Director of BMC Recruitment Group, and Rhonda D'Ambrosio, the founder of Mental Health in Recruitment. A very, very different episode of the RAG today, but a really important one for current times. I was put in touch with Andrew recently, having seen his content online, openly talking about his struggles with mental health. He's been involved with BMC from day one. He's not the true founder on his own, but he was part of the founding team. He's now operations director for over 13 staff. Yet Andrew has had a really long-term suffering with mental health problems. So much so that twice in his life he's tried to take his own life, unsuccessfully, thankfully. But he's been at the breaking point and had to come back. Rhonda, as a mental health coach, has actually been working with Andrew for the last few months on how he can be a better version of himself, better for his people, and really, just to heal and keep improving his confidence. I was delighted when I asked and they said yes, that they would both come on today and have a live conversation as they normally would offline. So it's like a live clinic where Rhonda's asking questions she would normally do behind closed doors, but doing this for us all to listen to. I got so passionate and involved that sometimes I opened up on things I wasn't prepared for. I chipped in with questions as well, but it's not really all about my direction this episode. It's slightly different. It's an hour and 20 minutes, so strap yourself in. But I think in current situation of COVID-19, we're all struggling. Whether it's small or large, we're all at different spectrums of struggling with mental health. So I think there's so much information in here, and I hope it really helps. So without further ado, Rhonda, Andrew, welcome on the RAG podcast.
Hi, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah.
Nice to
Great
be
to
here.
have you in. Yeah, we're not really anywhere, are we? We're all in our houses. We've not had to move.
Yeah.
But this is the second official RAG podcast, which I haven't done in the Hoxo HQ. So, but this is much more. I feel like a lot more set up today. I've got I've got the headphones on. I've got the new kit. The studio looks good, and I've got two guests. I don't normally have two guests, so I'm excited.
Mixing it up.
Mixing it up. This is going to be a very different episode. As I said in the intro, this is all about. Really, it's about how you two have worked together, and it's not really about me. This one, I'm gonna be a part of it. Otherwise, why am I here? But it really is about you guys, and I want to understand the dynamics between you two and how things have happened. But for the listeners, I've tried to give you an intro, but I can never do it justice. Can I get you each to just give us an overview of who you are and what you do? Starting with you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. So I'm the Operations Director of BMC Recruitment Group. Started 6 years ago, and I've been involved from the start, and it's fast 6 years, and totally loving it. But yeah, that's me.
Based in the northeast.
Yeah, based in Newcastle, northeast. And we cover various quite good. We cover tech, finance, commercial, and construction as of last year, which is really exciting. Completely different world to over what we used to, but you find the right perfect consultants, and
You can grow.
it makes it easier for me, certainly.
Right. Well, look, we'll get into that in a minute. Rhonda, yourself, can you give us an intro?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Rhonda D'Ambrosio. I've worked in the recruitment industry for 23 years now. I've worked most jobs in recruitment. I've run my own IT recruitment business. I've run a few people's businesses, recruitment businesses, and now I work for Even Able, which is a professional development and wellbeing organisation, and I'm founder of Mental Health in Recruitment, which is an organisation to continually push awareness for support of mental health in the recruitment workplace.
Wow. So you, did you say 23 years in recruitment?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go on,
you
please.
You still love it?
Please say it. Please say, surely not, Rhonda. You're not that old.
You can't be that old, Rhonda. You can't be that old. But I didn't want to be too cliche, but I'm thinking, wow, you still love it. It says a lot about the industry, right? That you're still involved.
Yeah, I think the fact that I've diversified what I'm doing, and I've sort of the direction of what I do in the industry makes a massive difference, So I've seen many iterations over the decades and changes to sort of how we approach things in downturns. So I think it's always different. There's always, we're evolving as an industry.
Yeah, 100%. I think since I started Hoxo in 2017, I think the industry's just transformed. I mean, the whole point of why I did this was because I was the customer. I was launching Hoxo, the agency in 2016. I was planning the agency, and then I wanted it to be built on like brand and content and all these things I was watching YouTubers and Instagrammers do, but I couldn't find it in recruitment. Fast forward 3 years, hopefully I've had a part to play, and there's people walking and talking on iPhones every single day across LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
It has changed, and I think it's changed for the better, in my opinion. But this episode is all about the relationship between you two and how you're working with Andrew and Andrew's journey. So let's go back, Andrew, to tell us a story. How did BMC come together, and what was your involvement in the very early days?
Yeah, so we it was 3 investors. That's what BMC stands for.
Right.
Brett, Michael, Chris, and we invested in some consultants with a temp book, and it kind of like, it was in oil and gas originally, which wasn't the greatest timing because the oil prices crashed, but we kind of like just diversified and moved into tech finance primarily.
So 6 years ago, there was a couple of recruiters with a temp book, and then 3 guys, Brad, Michael, and Chris, invested in them.
Brett, Michael, Chris.
Michael, Chris. So where do you come into this?
Yeah, so originally from the start, I helped out with the investment side and the finance side and HR, commercial, kind of like all the internal.
So you were brought in by the investors to be the operational element to pull it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then, fast forward 5 years, it very much our MD, Chris. He's the client focus side, and I'm internal, and it works well as a double act. And the more consultants you have, the more the more management there is, and it's kind of like that's how it's working now, and finding just the right people to join us, and it's been a long 6 years, but.
So where's the business sat at today?
Yeah, it's we've got 13 consultants. We're making the teams and divisions, so we've got like I said, tech, finance, and construction, and commercial executive, and they're all led by experienced managing consultants, and it's just finding the right people to join in those teams, and all the money's reinvested into those teams and that's how we're gonna grow each division, and support each division as they do grow.
Were you in recruitment yourself before? Have you ever worked in the
industry?
No,
definitely not. I think everyone falls into it, and I haven't been a recruitment consultant. I did an accountants and finance degree at Durham, and then wanted to become chartered accountant, I thought, but I definitely didn't want to become chartered. Did a year sitting in an accountancy office, and it's very boring. And going out and audit, in the middle of nowhere for 2 weeks, with everyone hates you when you go out to these clients. So I kind of just got involved in the investment portfolio, and we invested in BMC, and I had a huge passion for the people and the business, and I love recruitment, and I love seeing the consultants get the wins, and it's hard seeing them get the rejections, but the wins outgrow the rejections. But and then my career kind of like just developed from there. We'll chat in a sec about how my anxiety kind of like stopped that for about 4 or 5 years, and really the last 12 months is where I've kind of like come into my own and into management, and becoming a business leader. And so
in the early days, you've got a growing team of consultants. You got investors. Were they recruiters as well? The investors, were they? No. So basically, you got quite a heavy, like almost like back office to this recruitment business, haven't you? Normally, it's a couple of guys. Most of my guests are on their own or in a pair. They go out, they build a business, and then later on they think about support. Whereas you're providing this little function to these guys from day one.
Yeah.
Did it feel like did it feel a bit overkill at the beginning potentially? All these different minds and thoughts and processes for
it was pretty crazy because you know we're ISO accredited, and which I do all that, and GDPR came out, and it's kind of like we've set up for like 30, 40 staff, you know, and it's quite important that you know it's important for us that now we just find the right consultants to literally slot into the business, and they can, you know, the finance, the procedures, you know, the operations, it's all there. And it's just finding the right people to. I think the best thing for us, you know, I'm not a recruitment consultant, unlike quite a lot of business owners, I think recruitment owners, and Neva is our MD. He was MD of insurance background, but it's actually we're investing in the consultants, and you know, example is, you know, Simon, our head of construction, he was in specialist construction recruitment agencies, but he was flying, but he reached to a level where they didn't let him fly above and get to that kind of like there's loads of red tape at the top, and you know he was.
So is your model different then? Do they get like a different level of ownership, commission structure, that kind of freedom?
Yeah, I mean, we'll change the commission scheme, you know, so it's attractive, and we'll really change the like flexible working, and they're kind of like their own boss within that. They can manage the team the way they want to manage the team as long as the bill, and you kind of like let go of the chains of shackles from them, and you know, whatever they've done well, you know, they can create a team where, you know, for example, Simon, he didn't get that opportunity at these specialist construction recruitment agencies, and we're allowing him to do that. You know, I'm not an expert in construction, but he is. But what you need is, you know, it's different from setting up your own company, because there's finance, there's you know, payroll, HR, legal. There's a lot of stuff that goes in the background that actually is quite difficult to manage, but you just let them do it.
Let them do what they're good at. Yeah, I get it. So let's paint the picture then. What went on, and how did you two get to know each other? Rhonda, where's this connection come from?
Yeah, interesting. So BMC, the company Andrew's talking about, put up a post on LinkedIn a few weeks back, and a mutual connection of ours, a chap called Steve Guest, author of Top Biller. I should do that, should I? Hashtag Top Biller for Steve, if that's all right. Tagged me in Andrew's post. BMC had put some copy that Andrew had written alongside the post that referenced the individual anxiety and mental health issues. And Steve said, look, you two really should be talking to each other. So Andrew and I connected, and I reached out to him and sort of said, hey, it'd be great to have a chat. And I was really interested. I was really intrigued that the copy that talked from a, you know, very personal perspective of, you know, I've struggled and I understand this, was a little bit in contrast to the, you know, the business video that had been posted. And I wanted to understand that. And this is how I've got to know Andrew, and he's talked to me a bit about his story, which, you know, I found really powerful. And I gifted him access of to Kite Support, which is, I think, you know, is the product that I brought to market with a team across the globe to help build resilience during adversity and the adversity that we're faced. So that's kind of.
So what did the post say? Like, can you reference roughly what the post was about?
So I wanted to create a video. I don't have the editing skills. That was the office manager who did the video, but it was.
Neither do I, mate. Don't worry.
I
said that earlier on.
Stop giving your secrets away. Yeah.
Rhonda asked, Sean, will you be editing the video? I said, well, not me, no. Someone else will. I ain't got a clue, but yeah, we'll get it done. Go on.
Yeah, so I wanted to create this video that, you know, at this time, you know, there's a lot of anxiety with. This was a couple of weeks back now, where, you know, 48 hours, 98% of our jobs just got put on hold, and probably similar for all of the recruitment agencies across the UK that aren't in healthcare or logistics or something like that. And people, you know, I had quite a lot of anxiety then, but, you know, with what I've been through, you know, it was kind of like nothing kind of compared to what I've been through. But it, you know, other people out there, you know, they might lose their jobs, or, and the best kind of advice is just to talk and open up. And I was going to put it on the company, hide behind the company profile with the video, and then for the last second I just decided, right, I'll add a comment as well, kind of like put some context into, and this is the first time I've actually opened up about my anxieties to kind of like the world. Now it's on LinkedIn, the web.
So Rhonda, what did this post say? Can you remember?
The post, the copy alongside it was, yes, have a look at the video. There's, everyone will be feeling an element of stress and anxiety right now because of COVID-19. And as somebody that has anxiety and had mental health issues, I think I might not be verbatim there. This is important. This is an important message for me to post out. It was something like that, and it was that for me was the question that I put to Andrew, which was, why did you post behind? Where did you hide? Talk to me about why you felt you needed to hide behind the company post. And Andrew, I don't know if you want to pick this up. We talked about the similarity of between coming out and people's sexuality. It was almost like you said, Andrew, and I don't think you've referenced it. You've not been on LinkedIn very long, have you?
Yeah, since November, December last year, and I joined LinkedIn, and it was. I wanted it angled towards business leaders as well at the same time, and because everyone's got to pull together at the minute, and as a team of consultants as well, you have to pull together. And quite a lot of people actually commented, why did you not talk over the video, or why do you not do a video yourself? Like what you said, Sean, earlier, that there's a lot of video now on LinkedIn, but I just, because of my anxiety, I just didn't want to. I wanted to hide behind the company, and
yeah, okay, it makes sense. What I'd like for the next part of the show is, Rhonda, if you can get on, like, let's open up the bonnet of the conversation you guys are having, right? I'd like live now for you to ask Andrew the questions that you potentially have asked before, but let's get under the bonnet of this, because I really believe that right now, recruitment owners, recruiters, people in general, we're all on different spectrums of a mental health issue. Everyone's suffering from something. Yesterday, like, my wife lost a plot over making. There wasn't enough tofu sausages to make. I bought a packet of 4, thinking it was a packet of 8, and she threw them at me, and I was like, that can't be that bad. But surely, like, little things become so big now because we're in the same fucking house for 12 hours and 15 hours a day. I hope she doesn't listen to this. But
we're gonna see a packet of sausages come flying through.
I've never even eaten tofu sausage, so I fucked the first packet up. But we're trying to be really clean. But anyway, but this, seriously, we're all going through different things right now. But Andrew's put himself out there, and I, rather than me just talk, we just talk about what's going on. Let's get under the bonnet. So if you take over with the questions, I'll try and be a bit quieter for a bit.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Right.
And I think it ties into you talking about the stats and everything else and how we're all feeling. When I go out and I talk and reference good health, I still find, and we still see, that disparity between physical health and mental health as, they're two separate things. So I think, Andrew, my first question for you is, how long has your, I guess, what you've been facing and your mental health been front and centre of your life?
Yeah, for me it was the majority of my life, and it started around when I was 14, bullied because of my weight at that time, and then it progressed into when I went to university, massively into social anxiety, and the fact that I would just, when you go out clubbing, or in front of the class lecturers, it's huge amounts of anxiety. And for me, I show that by sweating excessively from the face, and that's impossible to hide. And as a result, you get mocked, teased, judged, because why on earth are you, like, it's after, like, you complete a marathon. That's what kind of, like, the adrenaline goes through, and that kind of led us into depression at that point, and some pretty dark places.
I guess, it's something, from what you've told me, has impacted you for a very long time. And if you were to think back over the last 10 to 12 years, what are some of the things that, all of us take for granted that you'd say your anxiety has stopped you from doing?
Yeah, I think first of all, it was socially, outside of work. It really stops you in your tracks, and that progresses into your career, through university, what you're going to do after you leave university. And my career was massively affected. I mentioned I went in accountancy. I was just coursing. I was kind of like I didn't know what I wanted to be, and that anxiety was just coming at the
almost
forefront.
clouding you.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that rather than actually what I was kind of capable of and wanted to do. And I wouldn't go to shops in case I bumped into people, and the amount of people there were, and it kind of like it's a long road of you think about the anxiety, and then you play on it, and then it ramps up quite quickly.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you, when we spoke about this previously, and we talked about your weight as an example, when I asked you about that, you said it's not like you were, classed as clinically obese. It's not like your BMI was off the scale. We almost got to this point, didn't we, where we classed it as puppy fat, but for you at that time, it was really debilitating.
Yeah. And I think that's it's just such a small thing, but it's when the anxiety of comes over you, and it could have been anything, it could have been a lot worse, but it was the anxiety at the time that are they going to mention it again? Are they going to? And then you start thinking about yourself and self-reflection, and it's difficult to get out of that loop when
is it a constant sorry to ask, is it a constant feeling and thought? Is it something that comes in and out of your head? Or but let's go back to that period. Was it non-stop?
Yeah, massively, yeah. And it really affects then everything you do. And you then start to create stories in your head that aren't true, and thoughts that are not true, and that's a massive thing I've learned. At the end of the day, it's thoughts that are on your head, and it's how you deal with those thoughts. And for me, I definitely allowed them in and then really ramped them up. Even though the bullying kind of like started to mellow, I was ramping my anxiety up in case something like that happened again. And then when you went to university, it kind of like just exploded with meeting someone, to being the popular person, or fitting in with people because you don't know anyone, and that kind of like ramps up then.
You shared a lot of honesty and openness with me, Andrew, when we talked about how all of those feelings built, and it took you to I know some very, very dark places, and I'm Sean and I are very happy and feel quite privileged that you're open to talking about this. But there were 2 occasions where you told me you tried to take your own life, and I kind of would like to know what you were facing at those particular moments. On those 2 occasions, what was it that made you feel that suicide was the only option for you?
Yeah, and I think that's that's one of the main reasons I'm doing this podcast and let my feelings out on LinkedIn, because if you don't talk openly, that anxiety turns to depression, and that depression then turns into people taking their own lives, because if you don't get off that road, that is what happens. And the first time was I just graduated from university. I didn't want to go live back with my parents. I didn't have any many friends at that time, and I wanted to, so I just moved into a flat by myself and started my job that I didn't want to do. And it was just kind of like wake up, go 9 to 5, come home, lock myself in my flat, and repeat the next day, and just kind of get the days over and over with. And eventually it gets to the point where you start having some dark thoughts, and I'm never going to succeed in life, and I'm a failure to my family, and I'm never going to meet anyone. And so then I locked myself in the bathroom, and my dad was on the other side of on the other side of the door, shouting, and picked up a razor, and I thought, right, what's the point now, or what's the point in life? And for the split second, I listened to my dad's voice, and that's when that thought of, taking my own life kind of like, went for a second. And my dad opened the door, and that was kind of like the first step of the help that I was gonna, like, the road to like recovery on that kind of.
How did it
level.
get to the point where your dad was outside the room? Did he
Yeah,
know did you call him or something? How did that all come about?
Yeah, it's when you've got this anxiety, and then especially depression, you want the attention, you want someone to help you, but then you don't at the same time. And for me, it was my dad. I was just I didn't tell anyone this, and I was hiding it from everyone. But my dad knew, and he came over. I texted him, and he came over. I think I was texting, what's the point in life? And he could tell us something was wrong, and he drove over, and that's when I locked myself in the bathroom. And it was at that point, it's you want the help, you desperately need the help inside, but at the same time, you desperately don't want people to waste time on you because you think you're insignificant and you think you're not normal. And for me, that's a difficult scale kind of to go on, but
Yeah, I've got some questions for you around, I guess, the behaviours that the people around you would have been seeing at that time. But it'd be good to hear about the second experience you had before I ask you that, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was the first road of recovery for me in terms of my, my sweating and my anxiety around that. But actually, it was more than that. And the second time I had overcome a lot of anxieties. I'd already been on intensive CBT therapy sessions, but I was still lost in my career. I was still lost in where I wanted to go in life, and I'd met my amazing wife, and it was. But again, it was still a career. It was, what do I want to be? And we were expecting our first child, our son, and I was 30, 29 going on 30, and I was like, well, I'm still nothing, I've still not achieved anything. And at that point, and I was like, I don't want my son to be like me. My problems that I was facing, if he's anything like me, it'll be a failure. And I was driving the car, and I was gonna crash into the barriers, and it, for that again, like the first time, it was, my wife was pregnant, and for that first time, I stopped and then thought of my son, and we just did a scan, and then I swerved back on the road, and I pulled over, I stopped, and I was shaking, and that was the, it's so selfish, and you've kind of like, then I needed help again.
Yeah.
And
I think it's testament in there, Andrew, to, if you look at both of those, those two occasions, the thing that's anchored you back in has been loved ones and the relationships that you've got around you. So I really, and I think this is potentially interesting for people that are listening, when you consider your behaviours and what your friends, your family, your loved ones were seeing from you at that time, both occasions. Was it different?
Yeah, it was, you can notice it as well. And I think this is good for, for managers, and leaders who don't have anxiety, and to kind of like spot that behaviour in their consultants, their employees, or their family. Because my behaviour, I think everyone's different, but certainly for me, and probably a lot of people, I went into a shell. I would hide away, I would run away from things. I didn't want to speak or bump into anyone, and I wanted the days just to fly by, and like life had no purpose. And that was, I think as well, a really good. I was on the depression kite, which is the kite support, and I came across a video that I hadn't watched for 3 years, which was the Black Dog depression video. And I would urge anyone who wants to, it really sums up
Yeah.
what people with depression are going through. And after I pulled over the car, it was the day after I watched that video, because I was trying to explain how I felt, and that just overwhelming amount of emotion hit us when I was watching, because it's exactly what I was going through, and I think a lot of people will be in the same boat of that. And
yeah, have you seen it, Sean?
No, I've not.
Yeah, it's I think it coins it, and I can't talk from the same position as you, Andrew, but we've chatted about this. It's that almost the metaphor for depression is this big black dog that follows you around and intrudes on your life in some ways. So like an unruly dog. Interestingly, like we were saying, Andrew, we class our dogs as companions. Yeah, they're supposed to be good things, and that's why it's incredibly interesting, I think, because of from the conversations I've had, Andrew, with you and with other people that have been in similar situations, there is almost a comfort to knowing that is always that you're clinging on to these feelings and this routine and this normality. How do you recover from that? How does somebody recover from, those situations?
Yeah, I think like the first time, I went on a CBT intensive therapy session through the NHS, and at that time, I needed help, and the second, a big shout out to Stephen, who I really connected with, and I think it's important that you connect with someone when you're going to open up to them. And it's a very cliched answer, but what really helped me was just talking about it, but talking openly about it, but then accepting yourself and accepting you as a person.
Do you feel like there's a type of person you should speak to? Because I lived with a guy in 6 years ago. My business partner that you spoke to yesterday, Andrew, moved out of the flat we lived with another friend, and we had a mate who moved in. This was the summer of 2014. He moved in. This guy was he was a school teacher that was launching this he was launching a service that was going to be like a tutoring service for kids, and he's this bundle of energy, this great looking, he looked like a model guy. He was this little bundle of energy. He used to play rugby for London Broncos. He was the coolest guy you've ever met. Genuinely, he was unbelievable. Being in the house with him it was a barrel of laughs. But then he moved in the August, and by September he just started changing. He started getting quite upset, and he started changing his habits, and he started doing things differently. And I didn't know him well enough to know what he was all about. I was like, maybe that's just him.
Yeah.
And by November, this guy, I walked in one day and he was crying in his bedroom, right? And I walked in, I thought something drastic's happened. And as I walked in, he was just staring into a coffee cup. And I was like, "You all right, mate?" And he's like, "I'm just delighted by the way the milk's forming." And I was like, I just couldn't get my head around it. And I was like, this guy is crazy. That was honestly what I was thinking. I was like, this guy's crazy. And then a week later, he went to this retreat on the south coast where he just scrubbed floors for a weekend and didn't speak to anyone. It was like this retreat where you almost punish yourself. Anyway, long story short, he took his own life in December of that year.
Oh,
so he moved out at the end of November, and we didn't know why, but his parents basically took him in, and I found him crying another night, and then he was found in a hotel. He'd taken a lot of pills and drank a bottle of whiskey, and he killed himself in December 2014. And I mean, we were blown away because Amma's dad had passed away the same 2 weeks before in an accident, and Amma had just moved back into the bedroom so his dad had died, and then the lad who'd been in his bed for a year died, and we were just, but then after it, we were trying to unpick this journey we'd watched, and I think I felt guilty because I was like, I think I had a relationship with this guy that wasn't close enough to be someone he might have actually opened up to me if I'd have asked him, but I didn't, and I felt this overwhelming guilt, and I guess my question is, what type of people should you speak to? Because sometimes are your family too close almost? Are they too? Is there a direction you could go that is a perfect fit almost for opening up?
Yeah, that's really amazing that actually, Sean. Because it can happen to anyone. This guy was obviously good looking and had everything. Seemed to have everything, but it's anxiety, and this is how it ties in with recruitment consultants and sales consultants. But for me, it's an interesting question. Your family, my dad, I am still really close to my dad, and that is for me. I didn't overcome this through my family or my wife or my son. It was speaking to Stephen.
So someone different, right?
Yeah.
It was someone different, and because you kind of like think, and they were saying all lovely things, and really supportive, but it just didn't click in my head. And it took someone. But I had, through university, I had CBT. I had two therapists, and I just didn't connect with them. For whatever, they were lovely people. One was in the 50s. One was just graduating kind of thing and becoming a therapist, and I just didn't connect with them. It didn't work. And you really, if you're gonna talk about stuff like that, and you've really got to open up to the person. But more importantly, you've got to, that person that you're speaking to has to take the time to listen. And there's a lot of people in the world that just don't give a shit. And it's, if you feel that connection with someone when you say one thing and they stop and listen and maybe ask you a question, then that's the person you need to continue on with. But family definitely would help a lot of people, I would think. And if you're not speaking to your family, speak to your family first or your loved ones, because I was speaking to my family in terms of trying to get they knew I was in a dark place, but it's definitely speak to someone else that you don't know, because it's that fear of it's that fear of, oh my God, what are they going to think, what they're going to say. And it can be a friend, it can be a therapist, but someone who doesn't know your life is sometimes better as well. And the best thing that Stephen ever did was he didn't ask about the, it's not them therapy sessions where you see in the movies where you're on a sofa and you put your feet up for 40 minutes and you chat through how bad your week's been. Completely different. And he wasn't bothered about the detail, and it's not the detail. And I remember one session just recently, 6 months ago, I rambled on for about 20 minutes. He didn't say a word, and he was like, finished? Can I continue? Because I'm not bothered about the detail. It's all about the thoughts before that. And you've got to kind of like, it takes, seeing a therapist, it definitely helps, and it's free on the NHS as well.
Can I, looking back in terms of the journey, and we've said we think it's almost an ongoing journey, but when you look back, Andrew, what have you learned about yourself and about people around you?
Yeah, I think it's I really learned that anxiety and depression really held me back from the person I really am. And I learned that those people who really, really care about you, whether it's family or friends or loved ones, will always be at your side no matter what. And it's actually really difficult for them living with or being around this person who with depression. It's really difficult. So but when you're in that state of mind, you don't think about how difficult it is for that person. But it's seeing that person who's negative, depressed. It's hard for them. But there's also, on the other flip side of the coin, there's people who are too wrapped up in their own world and they just don't give a shit. And you've got to remove those people from your life. And you've got to surround yourself with people who accept you, whether that's your family or friends that you got, or new people who just accept you for being you, and you don't have to put up a front.
Just going back to something you said at the beginning of the conversation about the narrative that we create for ourselves, about how we're perceived and how people view us. What about, you told me a really interesting story about your big breakthrough moment with Steve the therapist, not Steve Topbiller, hashtag Topbiller, and we I think that might be really interesting for everyone to hear, because this breakthrough moment it is about perception and other people.
Yeah, and strangers. And that anxiety that I had was definitely around, going to a business meeting and in your shirt and tie and covered in sweat, within seconds of the meeting starting, or going out to a party, not actually going into the party because you look a mess before you even go in, and that's just bumping into strangers and talking to people you don't know. And for me, that was in my first CBT session after the first time, and it is really ridiculous, and like a concept that I never told anyone for a year later, because I was too. It just sounds stupid, but I was walking around the park. This was the 16th week, and I was walking around the park, and we'd been building up for this for 16 sessions, and I was walking around there with Stephen for 20 minutes, two grown adults, walking around this massive big park, and just talking about what I was going to do. And it was the scariest moment of my life, and I put water, and I was starting to sweat because my anxiety was going. And I went up to the counter in a Costa coffee shop, and I said to the guy behind the counter, "Look at me, I'm sweating." And his reaction was, "Yeah, what do you want to drink?" And at that moment of time, I was like, he just doesn't give a shit that I'm really sweating. I've just pointed and highlighted it, which other people did and mocked us in the past, but he doesn't care. He just wants to take my order. And
it's a queue here, mate. Come on. Yeah.
I was like, that developed by the next time, the next week, going to Newcastle and doing the same experiment for every single shop in Newcastle. I must have did that about 30 times, and it's about practice. And the 30th time, I was like, I wasn't even sweating. I was just, and I was pointing at my face, and I wasn't even sweating because the anxiety wasn't there. And that was a massive light bulb moment for me, and just not giving a shit.
That makes sense. I listened to when I was on a journey to building Hoxo Media. It's when I got into podcasts, and I started listening to podcasts in 2015. I discovered a thing called the James Swanwick Show, and it's a guy who does a non-alcohol challenge, a 30-day no-alcohol challenge, and that was a change in my life, because I was like, I wasn't a big drinker, but I drank enough that it was pissing me off. And I remember I was on a train one morning back from Manchester to London, and I was hungover in this beautiful sunny day at like 8 o'clock on a Sunday, and I'd been out all night with my brothers for his birthday, and this family got on this, I think they were Spanish, they were on the way to London, they were like ripping up baguettes and handing out bread, and they were talking about Londres, and I was sat in the corner like a complete hermit, and I was like, something's got to change. And I found this podcast. Anyway, the first episode I listened to was about a guy talking about, I forget his name and I'll find it. It was about a guy from Leicester who's like a performance coach. He was talking about how we all are the star of our own movie, and we're actually, everyone else is in either a supporting character or an extra. And when you think, like, your life's driven by the opinion of others, it's really important to remember that you're just an extra. You're just a part. That you're not the star of the movie. They are. So you're so worried about what people are thinking of your sweat, but they're so worried about what you're thinking about what they're wearing, or their grey hair, or do you know what I mean? We're all so concerned with ourselves. It sounds, it's fucking true. We're all so gripped by ourselves. Yeah. When you realise that everyone else is the same, surely that's a bit liberating, right? They don't really give a shit.
It's honestly, it's massively liberating, and it's doing a podcast for the first time. I literally don't care now what people think of us, and if they like us or don't like us, who cares? Because they're too bothered about their own world and their own lives and their own problems.
This is an interesting point, isn't it, around stigma when we talk about this and when we speak about how we're viewed. And again, going back to physical mental health, if someone's got a broken leg or a broken collarbone and they can't work, there's no issue, right? We don't look at them and think, oh, there's a problem there, we accept it. Whereas when somebody is suffering from their mental health or is having to take time out of the workplace, there's a problem there still. So I guess, did you talk about this at work, Andrew? Have you?
Definitely not. It was like, if I came in with, actually my son, I don't even know if my son, I haven't been in a fight in the last few days. My son decided to, while I was lying in the garden enjoying the sun, smack us with a die-cast.
I can't even see.
Ice cream truck. Yeah, well, I was like, oh, great, thanks, I've got a podcast on Friday. But again, I don't care, because so what? It doesn't matter. But I would have done prior to that.
Yes,
and, I tried to hide it massively with with my sweating, and from makeup to Botox. Apparently that's meant to work, definitely doesn't.
So Andrew, like your role, let's just paint the picture for the listeners, right? So your role, while at the beginning you're kind of doing all these, you're supporting, the team's getting bigger now. So when a recruitment company gets to 10 to 13 to 15 people, like you've got a considerable amount of work going on. You're supporting all these high flyers. How has this affected your day to day in the recruitment business? And because I want people to start thinking, how is this like? Is this happening in their agency, either to themselves or other people? What was the symptoms, and how did it affect you there?
Yeah, I think, and that's really for about that affected my career. I still have the capability now to manage, and I've got good ideas. I know what I'm talking about in terms of operations, and and that's learning from experience. But the anxiety held us back from that, and I was always involved in from an HR perspective kind of thing. And I was doing people's inductions early on, and this was a time where I started this induction with this person, and I started sweating all over the papers, and it was just like horrifying. And that was when my wife was pregnant, and I was like, God, like what is happening to us? And it was because of my position as well, and this is how it transpired from what I really want to talk about with recruitment owners and recruitment agency owners is because of your position, this is a new member of staff. They're meant to be nervous. They're meant to be nervous on the first day, not the person who's given the induction. From a management position, and this is the stigma. It's you come in with if I came in with a broken arm, people will go, "Oh, you're right, Andrew. Oh, what happened? They might mock you, but it's like, "Oh yeah, accident or whatever." But I come in and talk about my anxiety. God, look, but you're meant to do that. That's. I tried to hide away from it. I did an induction like that, and I ran, and she was like, "What the fuck? Like, what's kind of like happening here?" And I passed it over to someone else to do the admin kind of side of it, and I ran the toilet. And actually, it's you've got to kind of like see this in your staff. If people have anxiety, you've got to open up and give them the platform to talk to you about it. They might not want to talk, but people are stressed in all sorts of life, and that for me, is massive for the workplace.
Were you like showing specific behaviours on a day-to-day? Like, were you less interacting with your team and hiding in the corner, or is there anything you were doing that was different?
Definitely. Well, it was kind of like everything was a super speed because I wanted to escape, and escape's the first thing that you do when you have anxiety. And like the induction, I wanted to be. It's half an hour. I did it in about 4 minutes, and sweat. I was covered in sweat, and that was you start to be quiet. You don't in meetings you at the corner of like you said, hermit in the corner, instead of you've actually really want to say this point, but you can't because of anxiety. And as soon as I accepted myself for me and didn't give a shit about others, what they thought of me, that's when I started to getting involved in the management side of things. And actually, I don't care what this person thinks of us. And let's have a really good conversation. And then you become the confident version of yourself. That's...
If you think about the industry as well, we do have a reputation, don't we, of saying that recruitment is built on this mental toughness, and that everybody in recruitment has to be mega resilient. What do you think the misconceptions are around people dealing with mental health issues? And we know that it's not just a pocket. That 1 in 4 stat about common mental health disorders, and even the 1 in 6 one about work-related stress and anxiety, we know that moves. That's interchangeable. That's not always fixed. So I'm interested in what you think the misconceptions are in the recruitment industry.
I think I visioned recruiters as people from. Have you seen Wolf of Wall Street? And Leo on the phone, making the sales call. And everyone's watching him, and he's so confident and charismatic and engaging, and that's what I thought recruiters were. And a lot of people actually, come across like that. And but they actually have anxieties behind that kind of like bravado. And you know, recruitment is a very, very demanding and stressful job. You know, everyone's got to hit their weekly KPIs. They've got to make hundreds of sales calls a week that can, you know, they probably get 95% of them rejected. You know, and you know, it's very stressful. And if you go home and you've got something that's outside of work, that's also very stressful. You know that can lead to massive amounts of anxiety. And you know, I've seen it in some of my sales consultants here. You know, but you've got to kind of like, you've got from a management point of view, you've got to notice this from happening. Otherwise, the anxiety stops them from being really capable at the job. You know, just because you have anxiety doesn't mean that you can't do your job, but you've got to kind of like stop them from going down that road where they're just going with anxiety instead of actually going with what they're good at and what they're really, you know, being recruiters. You know, it's a very difficult skill, you know, to do, and you've got to enable them to do that, and help them come over this, you know, this stressful and demanding aspect of the job.
When I was I remember I went through a period when I went from recruiter to manager or team leader, and I was billing a lot of money, and I knew I was very good at I got to that point in billing in London where I was good. I knew I was good, and I was filling jobs every week, and it was like a really good period. And then I went through a point where my team, they pushed me into management, and they were like, right, we want to build you up now. And I had this kind of, I don't know if I've always been a little bit skeptical. Like, I think my mum used to tell me as a growing up, you know, if things sound too good to be true, they probably are, and like don't trust everything. So I was instantly like, who's this for? Are you doing this for me? Are you doing this for you? That was kind of my, like, you know, I've just started earning really good money. It's took me a long time to get where I am, and now you want me to take my attention to other people. And I was a bit like, but I've said no. You know what? These guys, they've been great with me so far. They're doing it for the right reasons, and they did. They're great. I had Barnaby on the podcast, and they were brilliant with me. But it definitely affected me. And then I was on a Nikki Coffin training program. Shout out to Nikki, who was awesome, and she had a slot where we used to go in once a month to see her in the office, and then she'd come in and see you like once a quarter in the office. Yeah. And no one noticed, right? But when I went into the leadership, I started getting this weird like heat feeling in my head when things got on top of me, and I knew the team weren't capable of just doing what I could do. I don't know what it was, but I got this like rush of blood to my head, and I used to go into this weird mode where I probably was horrible to be around. And Nikki was the one who spotted it, because she came in on like a Tuesday at about 11:30. I remember it really well. And I got a couple of jobs called in, and I knew my team weren't capable of actioning it. And I was doing something else. And I was just like, fuck, like time is running out. You know, this Wolf of Wall Street view, it ain't like that. Your fucking hair's going up, and you're like, how am I going to fix this? And then she comes in and goes, right, Sean, we've got a session in the off. And I went, I'm really sorry, I can't do it. And she went, you are doing this. And I was like, what? And she went, get in here, turn your laptop off or your computer off, and come and sit down. And I sat down, and she could see I was like boiling from the head. She was like, what? Let your steam off. Anyway, I went off on a rant. And no word of a lie, within 15 minutes, we were talking about my childhood and how my dad left when I was 5 years old and all this other stuff. Seriously. And it went down to like me being this boy that was like stressed from my mum and all these things that are coming out of me now as I'm leading other people. And I was like, it was literally just sitting up with your, it was more like sitting with your feet up moment. But I expected to chat about contract recruitment, and I'm talking about 1994, moving house and all these things. And after that moment, I was able to deal with this like feeling that I used to get, and I knew how to do it. And it's crazy how none of my recruitment team and owners spotted it. No one saw it. They thought I was this invincible biller that was capable, but she spotted it in 5 minutes. Because she was trained in this stuff.
Do you know what? And that's why it's so important. You know, I don't want to bang the drum, but we got a little bit of a platform. You know, there is a talk about this. People, if I go in and say to a business, a recruitment business, I can increase the sales performance of your guys, there's no issue around that investment of money. If I say I can do that by working with them on well-being mindset, recruiter mindset, and monitoring those, what I call the emotional intelligence markers, positive emotions, negative emotions, and some of the other achievements stuff, people don't want to pay for that. But it's so important, because if you get that foundation right, then any learning you put on top of that it just makes it so much easier in terms of adoption and implementation. My question, I guess, to both of you, because it's really, it's really nice learning about you a bit more as well, Sean, and it's not my podcast, but I just want to throw it out there to you both. If managing your mental health was equivalent to going to the gym and the physical side, how much time would you be spending on it, or do you spend on it?
I'll let you go, Andrew.
Yeah, I think you have to do it every single day. For me personally, I do it something every single day, and it actually relates to something what Sean's doing right now. You have to, if you go to the gym every 3 times a week, or you're gonna get fit, as long as you don't eat pizzas afterwards. But you have to do the same with your mental health, and it's practice. And it's like what I said before, the first time I went in that Costa shop, it took us 20 minutes to go in. The next day I went around Newcastle and did 30 shops, retail shop and everything, and it's just practice. And the 30th time I was so confident in that thing I was doing, and it's exactly the same. And I think, Sean, you're doing this 75 hard diet, and it's that 10 pages of growth mindset, which I really liked about it, actually.
So this was something I spotted a year ago, another podcast I listened to. I put a video on LinkedIn last week. I'm doing a challenge at the moment. I'm 25 days into a 75-day challenge, where at the minute I'm this big massive bottle of water next to me is half a gallon, right? I'm still on the first one, so I need to get my act together. But I have to drink a gallon of water every day. I have to do 2 45-minute exercises, one outside, or at least one outside, but I'm doing most outside. I need to read 10 pages of either a business or self-improvement book. Can't be an audio or a fictional book. I have to eat to a diet that, it says a strict diet. I'm kind of eating just home-cooked food.
Tofu sausages.
Exactly, thrown at my head. And then I'm not drinking alcohol or eating any shit at all, any processed food. And then you've got to take a progress picture every day, right? And it's the habits of the fight. It's actually a mental toughness challenge. It's not the physical byproducts are going to be a benefit, but it's the ability to say, I have to. I'm getting like 11 o'clock at night, going to bed, and going, shit, I forgot my progress picture. The other night, I had half a gallon of water and 10 pages to read at 11:45 at night, but I had to do it.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I have to. Right? Because
How many times were you up in the night going to the loo?
A few. But you can't progress. You go back to day one if you miss any of it. And I've got this kind of attitude that I'm just not. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, there's no way I'm going to not do this.
Yeah.
I've done a few things. But one thing this is teaching me now is that the 30 minutes a day I read, which is usually after my exercise. So I'm getting up at 6, I'm training for 45 minutes, and I'm having 30 minutes reading with a coffee. That is actually the part of the day now that I feel like is the most useful. I didn't do. And that's I used to train a lot. I used to do other things, but I never sat there and read every day. And it's just an amazing feeling to relax. You properly decompress. There's no reading. There's no phones. There's no blue lights. It's just you in a book, and you're listening to something that's there to benefit you, right? So for me, I'm going to commit to doing that now. As I want to do it for the long term, but I haven't in the past for sure. And when I've had some really difficult moments in the last year. I interviewed a woman called Tony Kokoza in May time, I think it was, and I got married in June, and that was the worst period of one of the worst periods of my life. I can remember it was a month before my wedding, and I was renovating a house, and the builder ran away because I paid him 2 weeks early cash, and he fucked off and never came back. And then so I had to get my parents to come down, finish the work. I had a Turkish wedding with all these people flying over from Istanbul. Me and my wife weren't really getting on very well. I was drinking at night after work. I wasn't drinking much, but I was going to the pub all the time.
Yeah.
And I just knew things weren't right. And I had this interview with Tony, and she talked about her life, and I opened up on a level I wasn't expecting to on the podcast. And then after it, we've had we have regular conversations, and it made me realise I'd just forgotten about myself. I'd got so wrapped up in the business, in the house, in the wedding, and I'd just forgotten about myself completely. I'd not thought about my health, my well-being. I was just thinking about every other stimulus but me. And the last year I've really tried to improve that, and I think since lockdown I feel like I've improved it 100%. So to answer the longest answer in history of your question is, for me, like Andrew said, it's got to be every day.
Yeah.
It can't be. If anything, physical, you could go 3 times a week on a run. I think you have to do stuff every day for your mind.
Yeah,
personally.
and I think Sean, that's really, I picked up a couple of things that you said there, and relating back to the story that you said when you were becoming a manager, you've really got to do something every day, whether that's meditate, or I've never been into meditation, I've never really got into it, but you know, I'm loving this kite app that Rhonda's. You know, you got to check in at least 5 minutes a day on and just focus on your mental health. But also, I put stuff into like projects as well. And if you set your mind, and I'm very like you, Sean, in terms of, you know, I wanted to become a professional diver, so I decided. And did I have anxiety? Yeah, of course I had anxiety. What happens if I die underwater? What happens if, you know, my tank comes loose and, you know, my buddy can't save us? And there's loads of anxiety that comes, but actually at the moment when you're just focusing on, and for me at the time it was I didn't know anyone. If I sweated, you know, it was underwater, so I didn't like it was comfortable for us. So, but I just put them thoughts to the side and just focused on just learning how to do the course. And you know, and it's the same when I play basketball 2 times a week for the last 15 years, and will I miss an open shot? You know, it's a bit like football. Will I miss a goal, like open goal? And it's the same, like so much anxiety, but actually just stop, think of those thoughts and focus on the game. And if you put that in your workplace, you know, like this diet that you're doing, Sean, you know, you're focusing entirely and you're not going to give up. And do that in every facet of your life, because it's, you know, you can if you really focus on something, it really helps with anxiety, because you had everything like, the people can't do the job, I've got to do it, but I've got to do this, and actually just stop. And what she did, Nikki, it was actually just let you rant, and then you actually just focusing on doing what you did, and you succeeded.
Well, what I think she said to me was like, it's almost like I had a bit of a victim mindset. Like I was letting external factors, you know, jobs are being called in, my team haven't got experience. I was letting all these things affect me, and I can't control those things in an instant. I can't control them, and I don't know if you've noticed, there's quite a lot going around on LinkedIn at the minute around this. There's like a post being shared where if you don't come out of the coronavirus with a new skill or whatever, you never had the time. And then there's loads of people slagging it off, saying this is the worst piece of advice ever. And I don't know, I'm kind of like, I'm not saying I agree that you need to come out with a new skill or a new career path or whatever, but I kind of do think that you've got to be in control of your own emotions. And you can either sit here through the next 3 to 6 to 9 months or however long it is and get upset all day about the news. Like I lost my uncle last week. He had cancer. He was in hospital in Manchester. He caught COVID, and within 8 days he died. Right, my mum was at a funeral on Tuesday, and my other uncle was visiting him and has caught it and has been rushed to hospital. So right now, me and my family could be sitting there all day worried about it, and I'm clearly not. I'm worried about it, but I can't control it. I can't control that. I can't control what's going on. I can only control how I wake up every morning, how I apply myself, how I treat the people around me, and how I take action each day. And that is literally all I can control. And hopefully, if I act a certain way, it'll rub off on those around me.
Absolutely.
That's the mindset I've tried to. And look, I'm sure I've got so many things ahead of me that will knock me for 6 and will make me probably go back to be a victim here and there. And I think it's okay to have moments like that. But it's like what I get from you, Andrew, is like you've had what sounds like really basic things, you know, walking in a shop, going to order a drink. But these things, I mean, I can't relate to that because that's never affected me. But it's amazing that you're prepared to open up and say, you know, I've controlled it. Yeah. Because it is just about controlling it.
It's how you choose to respond. That's you know, a lot of the stuff that I'll talk about, and I would love to talk to you about brain chemistry another day. You know, I don't know, I've got a big interest in that, and how all of those things that you're doing when you're doing your habits, your routines, creating those new neural pathways, firing up your happy chemicals. You're almost a walking advert for it, Sean. So I do want to talk to you, but the basic thing that I will often take to individuals, to clients, to businesses is, you know, you will have all of these things happening around you, but what you can do is choose your response, and that's it. You are in control of your behaviour regardless of what the emotions are that you're feeling. And I don't believe there's a thing as a bad emotion. It's just how we respond to it, really.
Have you guys read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey?
I've read bits of it. I've seen,
Oh my God, it's a long book. I mean, it's literally a 400-page book. And I'll be honest, I lost the plot at times reading that. I was like, it's so scientific and I'm not the best reader anyway. So I was reading page after page and then going, shit, I've not taken any of this in, I'll read it again. But the start of 75 Hard allowed me to finish that book. Anyway, the last chapter, there was one line. There was one line in the last chapter that was worth reading the whole thing. And maybe just go to the last chapter if you've got it. But it says the key to true happiness and building habits is there is a gap between stimulus and response. And it can be as big or small as you want it to be. But if you can control the gap and you can impact the gap, you'll succeed and you'll be happier. And do you know what I mean? That coronavirus is a stimulus.
Yes.
Our response is our choice, and there's a gap. Yeah. And if you respond on instinct, you're going to get upset. You're going to cry.
Yeah.
But if you can choose your response if you control that gap. Well, I've got a question for both of you now and to wrap this up will be, look, there's plenty of recruitment owners listening. There's some recruiters, but a majority of our audience are the owner community, right?
Yeah.
More than anyone else, forget about the recruiter having to be the superstar. You are the owner of the ship, especially now. If you might have furloughed some staff, but you've got a core group around you, and you're not even around them physically. You're on video trying to get these people motivated. Sure, there's a lot of people out there, I think, that will be feeling pressure at home. Pressure, got their kids, got their dogs, got their families are ill, and they've got all these people. What simple practical things can a recruitment owner that's feeling a bit anxious, that's feeling the stress, they might be getting some darker thoughts than they normally have. What practical things could they do now, daily? Andrew, Rhonda, what could they do to feel better? Simple as that. How can they start to feel better and feel better fast?
I'll jump in first, Andrew, if that's all right.
Yep.
I liken this to when you're travelling on an aeroplane. I talk about this a lot, right? When you go on an aeroplane, the cabin crew come out and they say to you, if this happens, do that. If that happens, do this. If the breathing apparatus come down, please take care of yourself before you look after anyone around you. So first of all,
wow, yeah.
That's a big message that I'm putting out to leaders. Understand this is your business. You are leading a team. People are looking to you and you are modelling. You're role modelling constantly. So everything you do right now is vital for the messaging that goes out to business. So be kind to yourself. And I know that's a cliche. Let's word it another way. Have some compassion that we're all a little bit out of control, like you said earlier, Sean, and go easy, because it's much easier for people to model your compassion and much more productive for them to do that than it is to model guilt on not getting it right. So be compassionate. Talk, right? We talk, Andrew, you referenced talking therapists. Talk to the people around you. The evidence of good leadership that I've seen right now in the last 4 weeks have been the leaders that are talking to their staff totally honestly, being very transparent, even around decisions about furlough. Yeah, and communicating the value to those individuals with respect to how that's still beneficial to the business, them being on furlough. It's helping the business stay alive. And I think the other one is, take some really simple stuff. Take regular breaks. Yeah, I talk about remote working Acuity, which is that perceptiveness you need when you're looking at a screen as opposed to when someone's physically in front of you. You have to work a lot harder mentally to pick up on the visual cues. BBC did an article on it the other day around Zoom fatigue, and you're at home, so actually our productivity typically gets boosted because we're intensively working without distraction, but there's also that element that we're working harder mentally, so you do need to take more regular breaks. Doesn't matter if it's your business and you're the owner, step back and lead by example. That's over to you, Andrew.
No, yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And as a recruitment owner, it's you have to talk. You have to pick up that phone and talk to your consultants. And some of them might not want to talk, so just leave them be. But as long as they know they can give you a ring at any point, 24/7, that's really important for everyone. And that's important for the now, but it's also important for the future, and just checking in that they're, picking up a new skill. I don't really care, one of our consultants just done the Google Digital Garage certification, and another is, perfecting the video skills that helped us with that video. But as long as they're working on something as well. You know, it's all about that mental strength.
Yeah.
You know, because it's been 4 weeks now, lockdown. It's getting, you know, some of them might have a cabin fever. You know, the first week it's like, oh yes, lockdown for a week and I can watch Netflix all week. But you know, it's starting to get long now, and there's, you know, as soon as the lockdown's over, you know, it's at some point everyone will go back to work, and you know, you've as a leader, and you know, people will be coming through back to work with different anxieties. Will my clients pick up the phone, give us a role? I need a bill, or I'll be expecting everyone to bill, you know, in within 3 months, you know. And you know, what I would suggest everyone doing now is pick up the phone and either talk to your clients, but don't win a role, you know. Just chat to them and plan for the future. And nearly all of my conversations with my consultants have been around, you know, personal development, and you know, just kind of like supporting each other. And it's like what I said at the start, you know, if you give a shit about someone, and a couple of our consultants have had the coronavirus, and you know, just check in with them. You know, they might not want the help, but check in with them and just let them know that you're at the other end of the phone, or fantastic Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and that's really important.
Can I just go back to that, because you've just referenced something really, really key about people. And you know, the other thing, we've got some blurred lines right now about being at home and the fact that we're not in an office. And you know, if we're talking about the audience being recruitment business leaders, you know, I'd like to remind everybody that there is a duty of care, an ongoing duty of care as an employer, for you to, you know, be aware of people's mental health and how working in a certain way can impact it. And the health and safety executive, and this is, I've talked about this a few times this week, you know, there is an obligation there. It's all on there on the website. So, you know, don't think that just because people are at home, they don't need support, and you don't have to look at their well-being. You know, I think I've put something out on LinkedIn this morning. You know, I'm passionate about right now because of Kite Support, but mental health is for life, not just for coronavirus. So, you know, yeah, look after your team, look after your people, and look after yourselves.
Yeah, look after yourselves as well. Guys, that's all we've got time for. Wow, I could talk to you two for hours. It's been great fun. And Andrew, I just want to say thanks so much for being so honest, mate. I think you're not alone, right? There's a lot, even including myself. We've all had times where things have gone in our head, and we've had difficult moments, but not many people are confident enough to ever talk about these things. And do you know what? You think about where you were once to where you are now, talking about this on live to hundreds of people. I think you should be proud of yourself, mate. Incredible work.
Oh, thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Andrew.
And Rhonda,
Rhonda,
thanks for taking the time and showcasing, you know, the types of things we all need to be thinking about. I hope people reach out to you both as a result of this. Are you happy for that? If anyone wants to ask any direct questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to, you know, this whole hour that we've just done is about opening up and talking about it. And this is the first time I've actually talked about it openly. And you know, some of my consultants won't even know any part of this, but it's important that you know that you open up and talk to people, and just don't give a shit. That's my ending point. Just don't give a shit what people think of you, because you know, I just met Rhonda 2 weeks ago, and I've told her the whole life story. But she's caring. She doesn't give a shit, and like gives a shit.
Thanks, Andrew.
But she cares about you. She doesn't care about the shit that you care. She's not cared about the insecurity. She cares about you as a person. I think that's the truth in most instances.
Very nice,
guys. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it, and like I say, I hope people reach out and I'm sure you can help more people than the people that are listening today. But let's check in again in the future and see if we can have an update on this. All right,
brilliant.
Guys, everyone who's listened, I really hope you enjoyed it. It's a slightly different episode of The Rag, but you know, growing an agency in current times and past times and future times, mental health is massively important to that. And you know, it can't all be about the exit plans and the fancy offices and the profit. It's sometimes about, you know, being the best version of yourself while you're doing it. If you enjoyed today's episode, I don't ask for any money from you to listen, but I ask for one thing. Please do share this episode online. Get on LinkedIn, put your comments in there, go on the Apple Store, Apple iTunes and share your comments. But also, share it with people you know. If you know someone who you think might benefit, who might be having a tough time, let them listen. Put it in their WhatsApp, put it in an email, put it in a text message, because the more people that listen, the more we're all going to come out of this industry, this problem as an industry stronger. And that's all I care about, is make sure we all come out of this in the best shape as we can. Finally, launching next week is my first course on the Hoxo Academy, which is a personal branding course for recruitment owners. We've got you signed up, Andrew, so you're in the mix with us next week. So next week, starting first week of May, we are going to be launching the Personal Brand Academy, which is a 16-week program working exclusively with me every single week via Zoom. I'm going to be opening the bonnet of what I've done to go from an offline recruiter, a very strong networker, to someone who's building a brand online that drives inbound business. And I'll be honest, I just enjoy it a hell of a lot more than I used to. And I want you guys to benefit from that and become an authority in your markets, in your spaces. I've got limited spaces left, but I really want RAG listeners to be the first people to enjoy and benefit from this program. I'm going to put a link to the application form. We're not accepting everyone. We want your answers to an application. You'll go through a quick process of a conversation with us, and then we'll work out whether you're the right fit for the program. If we believe in you, then we can hold your hand to becoming what you need to be. Click the link and fill in the form. We'll come back to you ASAP. I'm hoping that a lot of you guys get involved, as I'd love to work with you even closer than just listening on the show. In the meantime, I'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of The RAG, not The RAG Report, where I'm talking to recruitment owners at length about stories of growth, positive, negative, all that's involved. In the meantime, stay safe, look after yourselves, your families, and I'll see you soon.